What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla stock in the markets and why the market is actually trying to cap up and push as we had some bullish news. Let me just mention that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, but it benefits the entire community as a whole. Looking at Tesla, we had this head and shoulders like structure yesterday, which did lead to risks of downside if Tesla lost 195 and 192. I mentioned to everyone to not solely trade based off patterns, but to look at the levels because these could always be traps as well. And we didn't end up losing 192. Instead, we got bought back up as we got some bullish news. And now Tesla's getting closer to this 201 area. So now it's looking like it's trying to rebound as we're approaching this resistance. Tesla's trying to rebound, so is SPY and the QQQ. So I'm going to break down some very important levels. But why is the market rebounding? We had this news that came out that the Bank of Japan will not be raising rates when markets are unstable. And this is huge news that just came out. What they basically said was that they're seeing a sharp volatility in domestic and overseas financial markets, and it's necessary to maintain the current levels of monetary easing for the time being. So that's what they're saying. This is more positive for U.S. investors who are heavily invested using Japanese money. And it's a lot more positive, at least for their markets. And as a result, the U.S. market is pushing thanks to that as well. So that's some good news, at least so far. Now the market's expecting a 63.5% chance we get a 50 basis point cut and a 36% chance we get a 25 basis point cut for September. For earnings, we had Shopify and Walt Disney. Shopify did relatively well, beating on earnings. They had a revenue that was above expectations by about 21%. Not to mention the fact that their Q3 revenue was above expectations for the forecast. So that's not bad whatsoever. That's showing a growth of about 20.8%. So good earnings from Shopify. Disney also had pretty good earnings, but some things weren't as great, kind of so-so. EPS was a beat at $1.39 $1.39. Revenues at $23.16 billion above expectations. Operating income did well, and then other sectors did relatively well. Other ones which weren't as good, however, would be the fact that their theme parks didn't bring in as much revenue, and they said they're going to spend $60 billion on theme parks over the next decade, and there's a lot of other things going on right there. But you guys could see the operating income for the U.S. parks was down about 6%. Not the best of news over there. And that's why we're getting a very, very mixed reaction right now. But for the most part, I'd say earnings are pretty good. Now, as far as Tesla goes, I just want to mention that Tesla is releasing its Q2 2024 vehicle safety reports. And what's important about this is giving us crucial information about how they're looking. They still have very, very good ratings coming out. They're very, very safe, and it makes investors a lot more confident, at least for Tesla moving forward. Also, in the second quarter, they recorded one crash for every 6.88 million miles driven, in which people were using the autopilot technology. According to reports, that's actually not bad. And I want to say that it just goes to show that Teslas still have very, very good safety scores. Elon Musk is still getting a lot of criticism because of his politics over the fact that it's leading to a lot of corporations not wanting to partner with Tesla. And there's more news coming out involving China as Teslas are becoming more and more included in governmental purchases. So good news for Tesla, especially for the Model Y. Now what's happening with the share price? We have this resistance at our 204 area. That's going to be our 50 EMA. If we break this, I think Tesla could push back up to 208. If we turn back down, I'll be looking at basically 200 as support. That's where this 20 EMA is. If that fails us, we're going back down to about 198. And if that fails, look at 195 then 192. Overall, Tesla's now showing signs that this is trying to push. We had a head and shoulders, but like I said before, Tesla has not lost key support. If we do lose 195, we turn back to bearish. If we break past 204, we turn more bullish. This is attempting to push towards 204, so look for a push upon open. If that breaks, we could attempt to go higher. So make sure you watch your levels just to be safe. The market is trying to rebound because of this bullish news that came out. There were a lot of traps involving the selling from yesterday. Now we're seeing attempts to bounce. On SPY, we have a possible cup and handle like structure. If we hold above 528, we could fill the gap all the way up to about the 531s and push even higher towards the resistance at the 532 range. And if that breaks, if we break past 532, we're going to likely head all the way up towards at least 535. To turn bearish, you want to see it lose basically 525. If we lose 525 or 20 EMA, guys, we might be sinking all the way down to fill this gap towards 521. So just be careful. If we lose 525 or bearish, If we break past and hold above 528, we remain more bullish, and then that could help us push all the into the 530s. From a technical standpoint, this now resembling like a cup and handle, and the buyers are defending very nicely. So this does favor upside a bit more for this gap fill. So we'll see how things go, but the chart does look a little bit more bullish to me. For Nvda, we're attempting to rebound. If we end up losing 104, we could turn back down to fill the gap at 102. And if we keep breaking out, look at 108 as resistance. If we break 108, we could be pushing for 111. The chart's obviously favoring the upside for 108 than 111. So it's looking more bullish, but we'll see how things end up developing from here. For Bitcoin is looking more bullish as well. If we lose 56,500, we'll be tipping back down towards 55,750. And if we keep pushing, we'll be looking for 58,000. If that breaks past this imbalance, we'll continue to push up towards 60,000. From a technical standpoint, Bitcoin is looking more bullish. It's on a nice uptrend. I think it's going to continue to pump. So that to me looks a little bit more bullish. For other tickers out there, we have the QQQ. The QQQ is looking a little bit more bullish as well. We also have a cup and handle. If we break past this resistance at 446, I'll be looking for a target of about 448, and then eventually we have 450 as our next resistance. Overall, it's looking a little bit more bullish unless we lose 442. If we lose 442, we could dip all the way down to fill our gap at 437. So watch those levels. But this chart is favoring the upside. All right. For Aapl, it's the same thing essentially. We're getting a little bit tighter. If we lose 207, we can fill the gap back down to 205. And we need to break past 210 to really start pushing. Otherwise, we're still kind of consolidating within this range. Watch 210 to be tested. If we break that, we could push higher. But we're still kind of shuffling on Aapl. It's not really doing much thus far. The IWM is trying to rebound, especially after this news from Japan. If we lose 207, however, there's still a risk of us coming back down to 203. We got to hold above at least 207. If we do hold it, as long as we're above 207, we do favor a push back up towards the 210 area. So it's looking like it's a little bit more bullish, but just to be safe, we'll wait and see what happens if we hold these key levels. For Amazon, watch 165. If that breaks, we could fill the gap up towards 168. And if we lose 163, we're going to fill the gap back down towards 160. This chart is favoring upside. Looks like it wants to go higher, but we just need to watch for confirmation. If we hold above 165, then 168 is likely coming. For Meta, we're a little bit more bullish looking. We dipped, and I said we needed to bounce off these key EMAs to turn back up. So we're back to 500. Break 500, we could continue to push back up towards the 510. So maybe make a symmetrical structure. We're going to bounce all the way up to 525. So this could continue to push. You need to lose 483 to turn bearish. We're not even close to that. So we favor upside a lot more. Microsoft is also rebounding very nicely after the Japanese news that came out because Japan is very important. I think that Microsoft will likely continue to hold up. If we hold above 403, we're going to favor move all the way up towards 410. If we lose 403, we could be dipping back down towards the gap fill at 398, but this chart's favoring upside. And then Google, we have 163.5 as resistance. If this breaks, we're going back up towards 165. If we lose 162, we'll be filling the gap back down to 160. This chart is favoring upside a bit more. The whole market's looking like it's trying to bounce right now. It's favoring upside, if I'm going to be 100% honest. So we'll see how things end up going. We'll see how things develop from here. Just know that for Tesla, although there was a head and shoulders that formed, we're going to be watching our levels just to see whether it plays out or not. It's looking less likely considering we're at the upper end right now. So if Tesla breaks that resistance at 204, we're going to be pushing higher. If we end up losing 198 and then 195, we will turn back down. But this chart is still looking like it wants to rebound a bit because we got some big news from Japan, not to mention other factors for Tesla. But I just wanted to call that out. In terms of the war that's going on in the Middle East, there's not much coming out so far. So we'll see how things develop. Thank you all so much for listening, guys. I'll see you guys in just a couple of hours, and peace out.